Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to finish up our series where we're taking a look at the IPF rulebook and going through each of the lifts. That way you all can be best prepared whenever you take the platform, potentially for the first time. So for this episode, we're going to take a look at the deadlift. I will say, of the three lifts, the deadlift is the simplest lift and the probably hardest one to mess up on the platform. So no pressure, right? And you'll notice compared to the bench press, the bench press, we had some extensive rules. We even had images to back that up. The deadlift is going to be a much quicker thing to go through. So first rule here, lifter shall face the front of the platform. Bar laid horizontally, so obviously no Jefferson deadlifts or anything like that. And you have the option to do either a sumo deadlift where your hands are inside of your legs, or a conventional deadlift with your hands on the outside. Something I will throw in here, because whenever I worked with the Penn State powerlifting team for a little bit, I met someone who didn't realize that you could switch your grip, right? On deadlift, you are allowed to use a double overhand grip. Usually if someone's doing that, they'll use a hook grip, or you can use a mixed grip, which is what I do. Any of those are perfectly fine on the platform. And then obviously you have to face the front, facing the referees. You'll usually have a judge right in front of you and then two on the other side. On the completion of the lift, the knees shall be locked, straight position, and shoulders back. So basically completely standing straight. Something you'll notice, and I'm sure we'll get to this in the causes for disqualification on the deadlift, but sometimes people can get soft knees, or if your shoulders aren't pulled all the way back, that could be an issue. Chief referee's signal shall consist of a downward movement of the arm and an audible command down. Signal will not be given until the bar is held motionless and the lifter is in the apparent finished position. So in other words, there is no start command for the deadlift. Remember, for squat, we had a start command and a rack command. Bench press, we had a start, a press, and a rack. For the deadlift, you're going to walk out and the referee will have their hand up to start. You do not have to listen to anything. You just get set up on the bar and you pull on it whenever you're ready. And once you have finished that lift, then you will look at the referee and they'll have their hand and they'll say down for you to complete the lift. Okay. Any rising of the bar or any deliberate attempt to do so will count as an attempt. So keep this in mind. I've seen people get red lights where in their setup, they pull on the bar pretty deliberately. If the referees deem that as an attempt, they will give you a red light. So you're only allowed to pull on it with the intention of lifting the weight one time. No do-overs, basically. And then, as with the other lifts, no downward movement is allowed. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to slow down to a crawl, but you cannot go back down and then continue back up. Okay, bar can settle. Basically, that's just saying is as you're pulling it, your shoulders come back. The bar might come back down at the finish of the lift, and that is okay. And that should not be reason to disqualify the lift. So that's it as far as the procedure. Now, looking down here, the causes for disqualification: any downward movement, as we had mentioned, failure to stand up, basically you don't lift it. The key here is shoulders have to be back. Your knees have to be locked. I see some people who really exaggerate that pulling back and they'll unlock their knees, which is a no-go. There you go. Just like I said, failure to lock the knees is a problem. Also, you can't support the bar on the thighs. And we'll talk about this here in a minute. But in powerlifting, it has to be a smooth motion where your hips come through. You cannot lean back into the deadlift and hitch it or ramp it up your thighs. That will get you a red light. Lifter should benefit in all decisions of doubt made by the referee. That's an interesting sentence. I actually didn't realize that was in there. Basically, it's saying tie goes to the runner type situation where the lifter should get the white light if there's any doubt. I'll just go from my experience, right? If it looks like ramping, they're probably going to call you, especially at the higher level. So that's something to pay attention to in your training. Stepping backward or forward, moving the feet laterally, just like the squat and the bench. You're not allowed to move your feet. And also, just like in the squat, you are allowed to rock onto your heels, though, or your toes, which wouldn't be super efficient, but you can do that and you won't get a red light. But if you take a step, that's going to be a red light for you. Lowering the bar before receiving the signal. Don't be one of those people. Listen to the referee. It really sucks to get a final deadlift and then miss the down command. Allowing the bar to return to the platform without remaining in control of the bar. So you have to keep a hold of the bar all the way down. That does not mean that you need to tuck it in like a baby and sing it a lullaby on the way down. But it does mean you have to stay with it, keep it under control. Do not drop the bar. Do not go most of the way and then drop the bar. I see some people, even high lifters, who train that way, and they sometimes have lapses in judgment, and you fall back on your training habits, and that's a bad reason to get a red light. It's just not a good time. Failure to comply with any of the items outlined under rules and performance. Basically, it's saying rule number 8 is listen to rules 1 through 7. Okay, and then here we have an image, I think just one, of what they mean by supporting on the thighs. You'll see the bars kind of like resting here or ramping. I have a better description I'll go ahead and share with you all. And I've heard this from referees, something that they're taught to look for. Okay, if you're standing up with the deadlift, they look to see if your knees go forward, right? If your knees go forward of the bar and then you lean back and pull the bar up your legs, they're going to call you for a ramp 9 times out of 10, right? Because that's what they're taught to look for, the knees coming forward to set up for that position. If the bar comes up and then it clears the knees and the knees stay in that same position and you push your hips through, that is ideal, okay? So just be aware of that. If you're someone who likes to rock forward and use your quads to finish the lift, which in my opinion isn't the most efficient way to deadlift anyway, but if you do that, there's a good chance you're going to get called for ramping. And then also hitching would be where you're kind of rocking back and forth to bump the bar up your thighs. So that is it for the deadlift. Definitely the shortest of the 3 lifts that we have. Pretty straightforward. Basically, walk out. There is no start command. That's the number one thing you need to remember. The second thing I haven't mentioned yet is you need long socks for the deadlift. So make sure that you pack those. That's to protect your shins, not get any bodily fluids on the bar for the other lifters. And then listen to your down command. Don't ramp and don't hitch. Okay, so hopefully that helped. That kind of wrapped up our rules briefing of the 3 lifts. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below if there's anything else as far as the rule book goes that you would like me to go over. And until next time, happy lifting.